reporters, well, they're not going to like this. And by they, I'm talking about all the WNBA players and the old fandom that can't stand Caitlin Clark and can't stand Caitlin Clark.
Adam Silver has just stepped up again to publicly defend Caitlin Clark. And he's not mincing words. He's calling her impact on the WNBA nothing short of remarkable and is openly crediting her with making the league absolutely explode on a global scale. And you can probably guess what happened next. The reactions from a certain segment of players and fans have been completely and totally unhinged. You see, Silver isn't playing games or trying to be politically correct. He is flat out acknowledging who is actually driving the money, the attention, and the future of women's basketball. And that simple, undeniable truth is making some people very, very uncomfortable right now. So before we dive in and break down exactly what Adam Silver said and why it's sending shockwaves through the league and causing absolute chaos, I want you to tell me what you think in the comment. Do you believe Adam Silver is doing the right thing by publicly acknowledging Caitlin's monumental impact? Or should he be pretending that all players are contributing equally to this unprecedented boom? His honesty is peeling back the layers and exposing some incredibly uncomfortable truths about the state of the WNBA.
Now, they don't like the fact that the fans will point out that, hey, Caitlin Clark outdraws everybody else in the league by a wide margin when it comes to ratings, attendance, gate revenue. You know, how much people are willing to pay. In other words, they're willing to pay up higher than face value for ticket prices. You don't see like $6 tickets or whatever it was to go see an Angel Reese game. No, people are paying $100 or more in a lot of cases to see Caitlin Clark play. Arenas all over the country switch to NBA arenas. It's like, oh crap, we gotta size up for Caitlin Clark's trip to town.
All right, so let's get right into it. Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, who also holds the reins of the WNBA, just came out and stated the obvious. Something that anyone with a pair of functioning eyeballs and a basic understanding of reality already knows. Caitlin Clark is the engine, the catalyst, the sole reason the WNBA is currently experiencing a level of growth that is completely unprecedented in its entire history. And just as predictably, certain players and their most vocal fans are losing their absolute minds over this simple acknowledgement of basic reality. It seems that, in the world of women's basketball today, simply stating observable, data-driven facts has somehow become a controversial act. Let's start by looking at what Adam Silver actually said, because his comments are so direct and so powerful that they're basically impossible to misinterpret. He stated, quote, "Caitlin Clark set the world on fire, not just this community. She's brought so much attention to the entire league. People are seeing how deep this league is, how good the quality of basketball is. That's not some pundit talking, that is the commissioner of the entire league, on the record, acknowledging that one single player has fundamentally altered the visibility and popularity of the entire WNBA. He didn't say it was a collective effort of everyone pulling together. He said, one player, Caitlin Clark,
to bring joy to people and give them moments is phenomenal. Now, I'm going to stop there because I don't mean to embarrass you. I just have watched this for many, many years, and I've seen this, the enthusiasm for this game that you, Herb, and the ownership have brought. And it's just one of those things you sit sometimes and say, wow.
Well, I have to say lastly, you know, and now with the WNBA going into its third season, you know, we were all here at the early days watching that grow. And I remember sitting by David Stern's side the first decades when the questions were often, how long are you going to keep at this? This isn't working. and David Stern said, we're going to keep at it. We're just going to keep going because we know we have something here. And now to see the popularity of Caitlin, to see the fever exploding in popularity, not just here in Indianapolis, Indiana, but globally. It's remarkable. And again, it's like I have two young daughters. I can't tell you how excited I am about women's basketball and what we're seeing now in men's basketball here. What Olympics in 28 will be in LA.
And the amount of energy he brought to that statement was palpable. He also shared another experience, saying that when he was sitting courtside at an Indiana Pacers game, he got to witness firsthand the sheer popularity of Caitlin Clark, to see what he called the fever exploding in popularity, not just here in Indianapolis, Indiana, but globally. It's remarkable. Let that word sink in. Globally. He made a point to use that specific word because Caitlyn's impact isn't just contained within the United States. She is single-handedly drawing massive international attention to a league that, for most of its existence, has struggled mightily just to get consistent domestic attention. What we're witnessing here is the kind of impact that transcends the world of sports. This is firmly in cultural phenomenon territory. Now, it's important to remember this isn't the first time Adam Silver has gone to bat for Caitlyn and publicly acknowledged her unique importance to the league's business. Remember the absolute uproar when she was inexplicably left off the Olympic team? Silver weighed in then, saying, "It would have been nice to see her on the floor because there's no question she's one of the most popular players at this point in the world. The ratings demonstrate that, the amount of interest we're seeing in her, he's in a position where he couldn't directly slam USA Basketball's boneheaded decision, because that's not his plate. But he made it crystal clear that from a business and growth perspective, leaving Caitlyn off that team was an incredibly stupid move."
And Adam Silver is the commissioner of the NBA. I can't stand Adam Silver. I'm not going to lie to you. I think he's ruined the NBA. But on this Caitlin Clark thing, I will give him credit. He has awareness. He has awareness. He got awareness on politics in the NBA and abolished it. But you still let 2020, 2021, 2022 happen. So that's still not great. And the league and the ratings are still trying to recover. Let's get to this. This is comments that Adam Silver made last year when Caitlin Clark was left off the Olympic team. He said, he talked about them leaving her off, but he said, "But I'd say from my standpoint, and I'm independent from USA Basketball and somebody whose job it is to oversee the NBA and ultimately WNBA." I keep telling you, Kathy Engelbert's not running this show. Quote, "I wouldn't say I'm disappointed."
And guess what? He was 100% right. While the Olympic women's team games did draw solid ratings, you better believe they would have been exponentially higher. We're talking record-shattering numbers if Caitlin Clark had been on that roster. That's not an opinion, that's just a fact based on every available piece of viewership data we have from the last year. You can sit there and argue all day about whether she deserved to make the team based purely on basketball merit, and that's a fair debate to have. But what you absolutely cannot argue about is her drawing power. It is measurable, it is quantifiable, and at this point, it is completely and utterly undeniable.
There's no question she's one of the most popular players, and at this point in the world, the ratings demonstrate that, the amount of interest we're seeing in her. But again, my mandate is different than USA Basketball's. But he just came out and told you.
But here is where this entire situation gets really, really interesting. Adam Silver's outspoken willingness to publicly champion these obvious truths creates a stark, almost jarring contrast to how the WNBA's own commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, has reportedly handled the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. There have been multiple credible reports suggesting that Engelbert has actively tried to downplay Caitlyn's impact, allegedly going so far as to say that Caitlyn needs the WNBA far more than the WNBA needs her. Now, if she actually said that, it is a statement so profoundly delusional, it's hard to even comprehend. Let's just look at the numbers for a second. Before Caitlyn arrived, the WNBA was struggling to get 300,000 viewers for most of its nationally televised games. That was considered a decent showing. Now, Caitlyn's games regularly pull in well over 1 million viewers, sometimes pushing 2 million. But sure, Kathy, the league doesn't need...
With the popularity, well, guess what? He's saying it again. He's saying it again. You know, one of the reasons he went to these networks and said, hey, you need to give us a lot of money for the WNBA, it's because he knows he's got a cash cow. He's got somebody at least for, 44 games a year, as long as she's healthy, he's going to get 1 million viewership rating on just about every game.
Adam Silver, on the other hand, is not burdened by that kind of delusion. He is a businessman first and foremost, and he recognizes exactly what Caitlin Clark represents financially for the league. He's the one who went to the major television networks and told them to open their wallets and give the WNBA a lot of money for its media rights, and you know what? The networks did it. Because they know that Caitlin Clark games are a guaranteed ratings bonanza that will deliver massive audiences. He understands she's a cash cow. He knows that as long as she is healthy and on that court, the league has a guaranteed million-viewer game 44 times a year. That kind of consistent drawing power is completely unprecedented in the entire history of the WNBA. And the attendance numbers tell the exact same, undeniable story. Before Caitlin, you could find WNBA tickets for $6, sometimes even less on the secondary market. Arenas were often half empty on most nights. But now, when Caitlin Clark comes to town, those same tickets are selling for $100 or more, and teams are literally moving their games to massive NBA arenas. Because their regular venues, we cannot accommodate the overwhelming demand. Let's be clear. That isn't happening because of the collective efforts of all WNBA players. That is happening because of one specific player that millions of people desperately want to see play basketball. The gate revenue tells an even clearer story. People aren't just buying tickets, they are paying huge premium prices. They're buying up merchandise at a record pace. They are engaging with the product in ways the WNBA has only ever dreamed of. That, right there, is the Caitlin effect. It is measurable. It is real. And Adam Silver is smart enough and honest enough to acknowledge it publicly. But you see, certain people absolutely hate it when this reality gets pointed out. They desperately want to cling to the fantasy that all WNBA players contribute equally to the league's success. They want to believe that a rising tide is lifting all boats equally, when the undeniable reality is that Caitlin is the tide. She is the one creating the massive wave that everyone else is now riding. And what's truly baffling is that some of them are so ungrateful about it that they are literally trying to injure the very person who is making their future increased salaries and better working conditions possible. Because we have to talk about the physical treatment Caitlin has received on the court. She gets hammered constantly, subjected to flagrant fouls that would result in immediate ejections if they happen to other so-called star players. She gets hit with cheap shots when she doesn't even have the ball. She's been the victim of dangerous plays that could easily end her career. And for the most part, the referees just let it happen. She barely gets to the free throw line, despite being one of the most aggressive drivers in the entire league. Meanwhile, other stars get superstar calls for the most minimal contact imaginable. Adam Silver needs to be addressing this directly. If he truly understands that Caitlin is the financial engine of this league, then he should be protecting her the way the NBA protects its biggest stars. Michael Jordan got superstar calls, LeBron James gets superstar calls, Steph Curry gets superstar calls, because the league knows those players drive revenue, and you protect your most valuable assets. But Caitlin gets hit in the head, knocked to the floor, and the refs swallow their whistles like they're watching a completely different game than the millions of us at home. And here's what is so particularly frustrating and mind-boggling about this whole situation. The WNBA players are right now in the middle of negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement. They are rightfully demanding higher salaries, better travel conditions like charter flights, and improved benefits, and they have legitimate grievances. The league has underpaid them for years. But here is the stone-cold, uncomfortable truth. Without Caitlin Clark, they would have zero leverage in these negotiations. Absolutely none. The massive new media rights deals that are going to fund these improved conditions, those deals exist because television networks believe Caitlin will deliver huge audiences for years to come. The expansion fees that are suddenly worth millions of dollars, those fees are so high because new owners believe Caitlin will drive interest in their franchise. Caitlin Clark is their leverage in these negotiations, and yet some of them treat her like absolute garbage on the court. It is mind-blowing. It's the equivalent of the 1990s Chicago Bulls players, spending their time trying to injure Michael Jordan because they were jealous of his Nike deal. It is self-destructive insanity, and there are multiple reports from credible sources that certain players get absolutely livid when Caitlyn receives praise in ways that they don't. Angel Reese, specifically, has been mentioned in numerous reports as being intensely jealous of the attention Caitlyn receives, which is honestly just sad, because Angel is a good player in her own right. She's a double-double machine and a beast on the board. She has an important role in this league. But she is not Caitlin Clark. Nobody is Caitlin Clark. And getting angry about that is like getting mad at the sun for rising. It's just reality. Adam Silver compared Caitlyn's impact to what Magic Johnson and Larry Bird did when they saved the NBA back in the 1980s. That league was struggling badly before they arrived. Games were being shown on tape delay, arenas were empty, the NBA was teetering on the verge of irrelevance. Then Magic and Larry showed up, created a rivalry that captivated the entire nation, and suddenly, the NBA mattered again. Then Michael Jordan arrived and launched it into an entirely different stratosphere. That is the level of comparison Silver is making. He's saying Caitlyn is like Magic and Larry, combined with the individual drawing power of Jordan and the game-changing shooting ability of Steph Curry. And that is not hyperbole. That is an accurate assessment of her monumental impact on women's basketball. She is a generational talent with generational appeal who arrived at the perfect moment in history, when social media and streaming could amplify her reach in ways previous generations could only dream of. The global aspect of her popularity cannot be overstated either. International fans are tuning into WNBA games specifically because of Caitlyn. Markets around the world that never gave a second thought to women's basketball are suddenly paying close attention. That is precisely why Silver used the word globally when describing her impact, because it's not just American audiences anymore, it is a worldwide phenomenon. And that kind of international appeal is exactly what the WNBA has been desperately trying to cultivate for decades, with almost no success. Until Caitlyn. Now, some people will argue that giving Caitlyn all this credit for the league's growth somehow diminishes the contributions of other great players, and on some level, that's a fair concern. There are phenomenal players in the WNBA who have been putting in the work for years, building the foundation that Caitlyn is now elevating to new heights. A'ja Wilson is a phenomenal talent. Breanna Stewart is incredible. Sabrina Ionescu is an elite guard. These players absolutely deserve recognition for their excellence. But here's the critical distinction. You can acknowledge their incredible talent while also acknowledging that Caitlyn is operating on an entirely different plane in terms of popular appeal and economic impact. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. A'ja Wilson is a better defender than Caitlyn. Breanna Stewart might be a more complete all-around player right now, but neither of them moves the needle the way Caitlyn does. That is not an insult to them. It is simply a recognition that true cultural phenomena don't happen very often, and when they do, they change absolutely everything. Michael Jordan was the best player of his era, but he was also a cultural icon in ways that other great players of his time, like Charles Barkley and Karl Malone, simply were not. Barkley was amazing, Malone was incredible, but neither of them was Michael Jordan in terms of global impact. And nobody argued that acknowledging Jordan's unique appeal was somehow disrespectful to Barkley or Malone. It was just reality. That is the exact situation with Caitlyn Clark. She may not be the best all-around player in the WNBA today. She might not be the best defender, and she might not even be the most efficient scorer yet, but she is absolutely, unquestionably, the most impactful player in terms of growing the league's audience and revenue. And Adam Silver is simply a man who is acknowledging that reality. What's particularly rich about this entire situation is that the very people who seem to hate it when Caitlyn gets credit are the same people who will benefit the most from her impact. The increased media rights money, that's going to fund higher salaries for every single player. The better travel conditions, that's happening because the league has more revenue, thanks to Caitlyn. The expansion teams, those are paying premium fees because new owners believe Caitlyn makes the entire league a worthwhile investment. Every single person in the WNBA is better off because of Caitlyn Clark, whether they want to admit it or not. And after this new CBA gets finalized, after all the players secure their better salaries and improved conditions, it's going to be fascinating to see if their on-court treatment of Caitlyn changes. Because right now, they are literally headhunting the person who is making their improved circumstances possible. They are endangering the golden goose. They're sawing off the branch they're sitting on. Pick whatever metaphor you want. The point is, it is incredibly short-sighted and fundamentally self-destructive. Adam Silver should be doing more to protect Caitlyn on the court. If he truly understands her value to the league, he should be instructing the referees to protect her, the same way NBA refs protect that league's star. He should be calling team owners and front offices and making it clear that dangerous plays against Caitlyn will result in serious, multi-game suspensions. Because right now, players know they can get away with hitting Caitlyn without any real consequences. That has to change. The contrast between how Silver talks about Caitlyn publicly and how the league actually protects her on the court is stark. He praises her impact, he acknowledges her importance, he tells television networks she's worth billions. But then on the court, players can smack her in the head and get a common foul, or no call at all. That massive disconnect needs to be addressed immediately. If Caitlyn Clark got the same whistle that A'ja Wilson gets, she would average 30 points a game, easily. She shoots 90% from the free throw line, and she's an aggressive driver who constantly attacks the basket. If she got calls that were actually proportional to the contact she receives, she'd be at the free throw line 15 times. But instead, she barely gets there, because the refs have apparently decided that the same standards of officiating simply don't apply to her. That's not just unfair to Caitlyn, it's terrible business for the league, because if she gets seriously injured due to one of these dangerous plays that should have been flagged, the WNBA's golden era ends that very second. The ratings will crash, the attendance will plummet, the revenue will dry up. Everything Adam Silver is praising about her impact will disappear the moment she can't play anymore. So protecting her isn't just the right thing to do morally, it's the smartest thing to do financially. So there you have it. Adam Silver keeps publicly acknowledging what everybody with eyes already knows. Caitlyn Clark is the driving force behind the WNBA's newfound success. Do you think he's right to be this direct and honest about it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more honest coverage of women's basketball. This conversation is not ending anytime soon. We'll see you next time.